What do the highest performing leaders, individual contributors, athletes, coaches, what do they do different than what you might do? Well, the difference is probably a lot closer than you think it is, especially in the way that they think. And it's what's called the daily free three. And the premise behind the daily free three is that you get to control what you think, what you do, and what you say. Again, I'll say it one more time. You get to control what you think, what you do, and what you say. And I've never been reminded of this more than interviewing Jay Wright, the former Villanova head basketball coach. He was coming off of winning a national championship, and I was invited to New York to interview Jay Wright and the president of Citibank. And I'll never forget this. I walk into Citibank. We're up in this corner office. We have the podcast set up, and I've got all these notes in preparation. And Jay Wright walks in. He shakes my hand, and the president of Citibank walks in. He shakes my hand. We sit down. I hand him the sheets, and they said, "Great, let's just get going." And we start this interview, and I was just enamored with Jay Wright. Here he is coming off of winning a national championship. He had every reason to think he knew it all or could do it all or that he didn't need to continue to learn. And he had a completely different mindset. So much so that at one point during the interview, the president of Citibank quotes Napoleon, and he said, "A leader's job is to define reality and to deliver hope." And Jay Wright reaches over me, grabs a piece of paper, and he writes it down. And I sat there thinking, I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy is a student after winning a national championship. And it exposed to me that he was thinking different than most people. And a couple moments later, I asked him a question. He said, "John, I tell my team every single day they get to control two things. They get to control their effort and they get to control their attitude. Everything else after that, they can't. But those two things are a requirement for them to control." And ever since I heard Jay Wright say that, there's not a day that goes by that when I drop my kids at school, I don't say, "What are the two things that you get to control today?" And it comes out like a habit, my effort and my attitude. Now, it's one thing to say those things. It's another thing to know those things. And then there's a third level, and that is to apply those things. Dr. Miles Monroe used to say, God rest his soul, he used to say, there's a big difference in knowledge, comprehension, and application. Knowledge is just knowing what it is. That's AI. That's just what someone is telling you. That's just to know it. Comprehending is understanding it. If you ever see a dentist that smokes a cigarette, they comprehend that smoking's bad, but they're not at the application level. And that is the third level, the applying of it. And I started to see this pattern that the best leaders, the best athletes, the best coaches, the highest performers, they started to have this pattern because they were aware that they were under control of what they think, what they do, and what they say. What they think, what they do, and what they say. And we're going to go through this daily free three for you so you can apply it. So the principle around what you think every single day is if you don't pick your optimistic voice, by default, you pick your pessimistic voice. If you control your attitude or what it is that you think, by default, it's going to be negative because the negative keeps you safe. The negative uses that amygdala in your brain that, again, is there for good reason, but it holds you back because it's trying to keep you safe and not get hurt. It's that fear in your mind, and it can be a healthy or an unhealthy fear. I love that quote. Fear can keep you alive, but it also can keep you from living. So that pessimistic or negative voice that comes in your life, it's not I'm not out to tell you you're all bad if you have a negative or pessimistic voice. But what you have to do is you have to choose to think optimistically. That good things can happen and not bad. Okay, so that is how you think. Now, is that easy? No, it is not. In fact, it is extremely difficult. So much so that I am mesmerized when I talk to leaders and coaching people and the way that they think, the way that they allow their negative thoughts about themselves or their teams or the outcomes to overcome them would shock you. So if you struggle with negative thinking or pessimistic outlook, know that don't have to stay that way. It might be more challenging for you to be optimistic or to rewire your brain to think more optimistically, but it is possible. But it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to make you making a choice every single not some days, every day. That today I am going to prioritize my optimistic voice. It is precisely why the optimistic outlook got started. I started coaching all these leaders and they were so pessimistic and struggling and thinking negatively. And so I agreed to send one of my coaching clients a daily email for 5 days. And when day 6 came around and I didn't send it, she emailed me at 7 a.m. and said, "I missed your email today." And I thought, you know what? If it could help one leader, it could probably help a lot of leaders. So if you want to think better, if you want to get reminded of something, go check out the Optimistic Outlook. It is a free daily newsletter to help you choose your optimistic voice. Okay, so the first thing leaders do is they take control over how they think. The second thing they do is they understand that it also matters what it is that they do. They maximize their actions and they minimize distractions. They have a bias for action. I was interviewing a lady recently and she was talking about these venture capital high performing leaders that she works with. And she said, "John, the one thing that surprises me more than anything is that they have a relentless bias for action. Like they don't wait. They don't think about it. Once they know they need to do something, they act." One of the executive leaders I work with, we'd be sitting in a meeting and an idea would come up. And before the meeting would end, he would have bought the URL for the idea. He would have already put into motion the things that he thought required action. Now, I'm not saying you've got to get to that level. But at the end of the day, if we looked at your schedule and what it is that you did today, did it have a bias for action? Did you maximize your actions and minimize your distractions? And the third thing, that the highest performers, the way that they, not only just the way they think and what they do, but it's also what they say. Because they know the communication, both with people on their team and at work, but also at home, is a critical element for them reaching their potential. Because it's not always what you say, it's also how you say it. Now, here's where the daily free 3 comes in. Every single day, you're going to ask yourself 3 questions. That's it. And you're going to score them a 1 or you're going to score them a 0. There's no 0.5 or maybe or I'm not sure. You either give yourself a 1 or a 0. The first question is, was how I thought today your best? 1 or 0. Was how you thought today your best? Would you give yourself a 1 or a 0 today? Okay, the second question, what is that you do? Was what you did today your best? 1 or 0? And number 3, was how you communicated today your best? 1 or 0? And at the end of every single day, you're just going to answer those 3 questions. Not in perpetuity, just for 1 week. And your job is to get your free 3 points every single day. And the days that you come up short, you just take note. I'm not going to get a 0 there tomorrow. I'm going to get a 1. You're human. You're going to come up short sometimes. But instead of worrying about the result, I want you to worry about the process of getting your daily free 3. Was how I thought today my best? Was what I did today my best? And was how I communicated today my best? If you just get those 3 things right, you will be on your way to thinking, acting, and communicating like the highest performing people and leaders. If you want, there's a tool called the free 3 evaluation tool. If you go to the optimistic outlook, you share the optimistic outlook with 3 people, you will get this tool absolutely free for your efforts. You're going to be able to score how you do in each of these 3 voices. This is an exercise that I do with all of our executive coaching clients. We do it in our workshops. So here is a free tool for you. Go to Optimistic Outlook, search John Eades, subscribe, and certainly share it. Once you share it with 3 people, you'll get the tool absolutely free. It's my hope that some of these ideas and best practices that I've learned, and I've been so fortunate to learn from people like Jay Wright and executive coaching and working with leaders, will help you be at your best. Until next time, be a great leader at work and at